neglecting ourselves, and then people end up in my office talking about how they can't sleep or they can't lose weight or they're dealing with depression or their hair is falling out, because they're so stressed out. They're trying to be perfect for everyone. So the thing that I talk about most when I go out and talk to people and when I write is about focusing on the fact that you can't be everyone's Superman or Superwoman. You have to take care of yourself first. Okay. Another part of understanding how important you are is the imposter syndrome. And this is this very easily comes out of the Superwoman complex. Actually, in the definition of imposter syndrome, Superwoman, the word Superwoman and Superman is used. But it's an internal experience. Feeling like an imposter is something that is internal. I love that in the 1978 official definition, phoniness was actually used in the definition. You feel like a phony. I clearly remember after, going to Duke University, getting accepted into medical school, et cetera, that at some point someone was going to find out that I was a fraud, right? That I really shouldn't be here. Like it was by luck, by chance that I was, waitlisted and then accepted, that someone must have done something on my behalf for me to get to the place that I was in. When in reality, I was smart enough, I was worthy enough.
I'm having it right now.
Right.
That's what I'm
right. We all go through it, and it comes in
plugged
waves.
into, because
Please, yes, tell me. I didn't hear you. Did I cut you off? Uh-oh. I think I missed an important comment. Come back in when you're ready. But yeah, it happens in waves. So, building yourself up to realize how worthy you are of, number one, self-care, of the position that you're in, of the accolades that you have achieved, is part of all of this. So know that you deserve to be here. Medical students to attendings, you deserve to be here. This is not only something hopefully that you felt was a calling on your life, but you did the work to get here. Okay. A lot of this early work on the imposter syndrome back in the 1970s was done specifically with women, high achieving women, but clearly men can feel this too. All right, so here it is kind of in a nutshell. So when you feel like an imposter, you feel like what you know is much, much, much less, especially as a medical student, much, much, much less than what others think you know. What you actually know is less than that. The reality is, you know a lot of stuff. You know a little bit about a lot, right? And again, you don't necessarily feel like the smartest person in the room, but you still deserve to be there. So we have to get over that. So now what? So now we've realized we're a superwoman, we're a superman, we're an imposter, we feel phony. So now what do we do with that? Right? How do we fix it? Over time, and with age and maturity and life experience, I've learned a couple of these things. But I definitely am a believer in positive self-talk. We teach our patients to do this all the time, every day. Say positive things, or at least I do. I preach speaking it into existence. Yes, you can. We're going to do it, and being encouraged. We have to do that for ourselves. We have to take the can't and the not and the I wish. We have to take that out of our own vocabulary when we're talking about what we're doing and how we're living. So it makes a difference. I'll jump straight to social media. Social media is both a gift and a curse. A curse in that you see all the ways that these folks are living their wonderful lives, even during the pandemic, still traveling, still thriving, still buying all the things and succeeding. It gives you this complex of I'm not doing well enough and I'm not good enough. And we have to look at more positive images and allow more positive things to be at the forefront of our brains, so we can feel better. Again, we all know this. We preach this to other people, but it's time to remind yourself. Learn how to accept and believe compliments. As easy as that sounds, like just think about the last time someone complimented you on your hair, on your outfit, on how well you did with the patient. Did how did you accept it? Did you accept it? Did you say, oh no, well, so and so actually did all the work. I just kind of took credit. Or, oh, I woke up like this, so I didn't really do anything today with my hair. We do that all the time because we feel like to be humble, or to kind of play, the back of the room is actually more important than feeling like you're accepting praise. I think we need to accept praise more, and we need to do it better. So if we were in a room together, I would tell you to turn to the person to your right or your left and give a compliment. And then I would challenge that person to accept it, say thank you, and then throw one back. I don't know, can you send a message to someone right now? Send a message to someone right now. If you can. And tell them how great they are. Tell them what a great job they did on that case yesterday. Tell them how wonderful of a note they wrote. Tell them how wonderful their presentation was. Tell them how cute their haircut is, right? And then when you receive that compliment, say, thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, I felt good about that. Thank you. And then throw a compliment back. We deserve that. We deserve to feel good about ourselves, right? I can't see you guys, so I'm assuming, hopefully you're giving somebody a compliment. Make a strength list. As silly as it sounds, writing down those things that you like about yourself and posting it somewhere is helpful. I have a friend that is kind of the crazy post-it lady, but she has post-its everywhere in her room, in her mirror, reminding herself, those good things about whatever, her personality, her achievements, her family. She posts them everywhere so she sees them often and helps her to feel better about herself. So you get it. So positive self-talk and accepting the good things that others think about you is key to not feeling like an imposter. Those things are real, okay? Perfection is not realistic. None of us are perfect. So you can't hold yourself to some unrealistic, goal of always doing the right thing all the time. One thing that I had to get over and that I'm now, I think, a pro at is asking for help. Asking for help. I ask my husband when things get overwhelming at home, to be honest, he's amazing. I rarely have to ask him for help because he's usually, chipping in and doing all the things, especially now with the girls being in virtual school. God bless us. He works from home. So he's usually, he's home with them 3 days a week while I'm at the office and doing wonderful things. So shout out to him. But asking for help. So I ask for help in the office. I ask for help from a personal assistant level. We'll go through some other things that talk about how you can delegate and use people to the best of their abilities and capabilities so that it's helpful for you to get things done. But I'm definitely an asker now. And then again, if we were in a room together, I would show you my Superwoman pose, my Wonder Woman pose, Superman pose. But it is clinically proven that if you stand with your arms out on your hips, your legs apart with your chest out and, neck up and straight in a mirror, and you watch yourself for 30 seconds, it is clinically proven. Don't ask me to quote the study, but it's clinically proven that it increases your testosterone and decreases your cortisol. It works. So if you're going in for that big presentation, if you're going to give grand rounds, if you're going to ask for that promotion, etc., do the pose a little bit in the mirror before you do it and see if it makes a difference. It should. All right. This is my stress flower. When I wrote my first book on the Superwoman complex, I found this on cortisol.com. And it looked a little bit different. It didn't have all these things filled into the petals. I had a couple of them, but I added my own. And what I do when I go to workshops and things on self-care is I bring blank copies so people can fill out their own petals and color it and post it somewhere in their home or their office. But this is the toolkit. And when I talk to my patients about stress, I have this in every clinic room. And I talk to them about, well, okay, so your blood pressure's high because things are going crazy right now, or you're not sleeping, or All these things are happening with the pandemic and you feel out of sorts. So what's in your toolbox? What's in your toolkit? And some of them may not have one. They may not have those things, right? So this is a reminder of those things that help me to feel, we try not to use the word crazy in medicine, but to feel less crazy. Exercise, I have to have music playing in my office. When I go back into my office to do my notes, it makes me feel better. Going outside makes, again, during a pandemic, a little bit more complicated, but putting my mask on and going for a walk definitely makes a difference. So you have to pick out what works for you. And I encourage everyone every week, every day, look at your flower, pick one or two, and use them. Okay. This is key. This is something I'm still practicing, but I said this word twice in particular this week, and it felt phenomenal. Saying no. As a wife, as a mom, as a employer, saying no is hard. And I do have people that say that they know how. I mean, they know how to do this. Like this is like no problem for them. But I don't know. As a born people pleaser, I think saying no is something that I've had to practice. But I'll tell you the two instances. On maybe Monday, I have this patient that I've been dealing with for a while. She, is usually very challenging, but I thought we'd come to kind of a median where we could work together. She became very belligerent with 3 of my staff members over the phone. Refused to come in, refused to, come and get the blood work I needed her to get, refused to have a phone visit, refused everything. And after a while, after a couple of years of having to deal with this patient, I said, you know what? I've given all of my energy, all of my time. She has treated our staff badly. She needs to go. So we fired her. We fired her. It felt great. It felt great. It was a burden off of my shoulders. It was letting that person go who was clearly unhappy to go find somewhere where she could be happy because she was making us miserable, and it's not fair. That's the first instance of me saying no this week. Second instance is, as you may have heard in my bio, I help people to publish their own books through a self-publishing company I have. And, we have, thankfully been very successful over the last 5 or 6 years. A lot of my authors are physicians, but I'm open to publishing everyone. And so people will reach out to me and pitch their ideas and talk about what they need from me and what their budget is and all those things, all the questions that they have. And I'd gone back and forth in negotiations with a recent book. A couple of authors were getting together and writing a book, and it just didn't seem to gel. We weren't coming we weren't coming to an agreement. They got a lawyer involved because they wanted to make sure that legally all the things were covered. And at some point I just said, I don't think this is going to work out. Thankfully, interestingly, we've been much, much more busy this pandemic. I've had a lot of writers to reach out and want to publish a book this during these 6 months, which is very interesting and I think therapeutic for everyone. But long story short, you don't have to accept every client, okay, and every customer. You don't. If it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. It's okay to say no. And I felt liberated by that because that was something else is on my shoulders. Like, how do I make this person feel happy? How do I make this person feel satisfied? Saying no and setting boundaries is self-preservation. Okay. I'll pause for a second just in case there's anyone that needs to say anything. I'll take a little sip of my coffee.
Good idea.
Take a sip, everyone. Take a coffee break. So again, as a medical student, as a resident, I'm sorry to say that there may not be a whole lot that you can do right now to change your hours and to change what you're doing. You just kind of have to push through. Certainly for attendings, excuse me, although again, working for an academic center, you may have a little less control over those things too. But at some point, and I talk to a lot of my patients about this, you know, if you have a case of the Mondays every Monday, something's wrong with that job. Something's wrong, and you have to fix it. You know, is it your schedule that you're not in love with? Is it the type of work that you don't love? Is it the people? You know, do you not enjoy the manager or the supervisor or the coworker or the team member that you're working with? If so, how can we change that? How can we create the most enjoyable space for you to work and create and express yourself in? It is possible. You know, you don't have to stay somewhere that makes you completely miserable. And that's in relationships as well. So if you hate it, if you dread it, then let's see where we can make a switch, make a change. Can you change departments? You know, did you used to think that family medicine was where you wanted to be? And now you've fallen in love with something completely different. Can you do something different? So what I've done and what I realized, particularly with family medicine, is that I hated, I won't say hate, I dreaded, you know, treating chronic pain. I didn't love, you know, chronic fatigue. The things, you know, when I see it on my schedule, the things that make me cringe the most. But, you know, I love my people, I love my patients. But the things that make me cringe the most when I see it on my schedule include always tired, always in pain, everything hurts. That really, like, you know, makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. So I've realized that either I need help with these types of patients, or I want to partner with, you know, different specialists, different mental health providers that are going to help me with those types of patients, because those patients are the most challenging for me. And now my staff, and now, you know, patients in general, those that do referrals and bring other patients in, know the things that I love to treat. They know that I love to talk about mental health. They know I love women's health, minority health, and pediatrics. That's kind of those are my big ones that I love. The other stuff, yes, I will take care of, but my staff knows that I love those types of patients. So they'll try to help bring those types of things, you know, to the forefront of my schedule. So I'm not dealing with the stuff I hate on the back end. I also hate a lot of meetings. That's another thing I hate. You know, the meeting that could have been an email. So they know that now about me too. If you can send Dr. Swiner an email or a text, she would much prefer that than a phone call or sitting and doing a meeting. Because, you know, we have stuff to do. That's just me. All right. This graphic here is just all to show that workaholism, role conflicts, job demands, all this stuff gets in the way of well-being and can increase burnout. So you have to try to balance those things. One slide and one quick comment about toxic relationships. Relationships, whether they be family or romantic, excuse me, or platonic with friends, if they are negative, they can be very draining. And so you have to, because we have a lot of this stuff going on, because we have our energy and our time being pulled in a million different directions right now, and, you know, even outside of a pandemic, be aware of those people that when you're around them or have to spend time with them, you don't feel great. Or after leaving a phone conversation or leaving a get together, you feel like, you know, I really didn't enjoy my time with that person. You know, pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. And unfortunately, that does also include family members. There are some family members that will pull from you and drain you, and they don't necessarily reciprocate, you know, love and time and effort, and you're always the one that's giving. That's not fair. You should have a conversation about it, or you should create some healthy distance between those people. So watch out for that. Watch out for that. Create positive relationships around you as much as possible. All right. So here's the meat. What are you going to do? What can you do right now during medical school, during residency, and even as an attending to make your life a little bit better? What I did was I polled and surveyed some of my medical colleagues. I'm part of a Facebook group. This is a positive thing about social media, is joining a lot of professional groups of like-minded folks. And I'm part of a group called Mocha Medicine on Facebook, which is a group of Black female physicians of all types But we will often curbside each other and ask questions and support each other, etc. We call it putting out the mocha bat signal when we need help. But I asked them, hey guys, when you were in residency and you were in medical school, what do you know now that would have made your life a lot easier? And these are some of the things that they mentioned. So shout out to Mocha Medicine. The number one thing, and this has to do with how you feel about yourself, is reminding yourself how much you deserve to be here. So defeating that imposter syndrome, reminding yourself that you deserve, and you are worthy of your position. Okay, you got into medical school, got into residency because of your hard work. Okay, but the other things that are important include reading daily. There are many, many exams and tests and steps that you will have to take in order to get to where you want to be. And part of that is learning how to study and finding out where and what time, when you can fit in studying. The comment that I got was at least dedicate 15 minutes at least a day in between patients, after your rounds, at lunch, read daily. Don't let it pile up on you. When you're at the point of writing notes and working with EMRs, if you're able to set up some templates and some macros, some shortcuts, do that. Actually, what EMR do you guys use? Can someone tell me?
So right now we use several in our clinic offices. We use Allscripts. In the hospitals, we use Cerner and Epic. But we are actually going to be transitioning to Epic as our outpatient product in March. So we'll be going through that transition. Okay, yep, I remember that. UNC did that too. So Epic is actually pretty good. Allscripts is top notch too. But in Epic, there are a lot of shortcuts. You can create templates. So make use of that. Go in, take some time, pick your favorite templates, customize them so that you click one button and there's your whole pre-written note for your chronic disease patient, or your pre-written note for an acute visit. Go ahead and create those. It'll save you time in the end. Instacart and Amazon are your friends. And if during the pandemic, they've definitely been my best friends. My husband is like, if another Amazon box shows up at this door, I don't know what I'm going to do. But Instacart saves great amounts of time. It also can help with being contactless in these days. So if you can, order your stuff online during lunch so that at home, when you get home in the evening or whenever you're getting home, your stuff will be waiting for you versus you having to go and take an extra trip to go somewhere, was the advice that I've gotten. And they worked for me. Pay your bills on autopay. I can remember being in medical school and being on call and forgetting, or being having a late notification because of the utility bill or something different, or my cell phone bill, and just for not having time and forgetting. If you can put as many things on autopay, and now as an attending, I try to do that as much as I can. Put it on autopay so you don't have to remember. Get there. You can either do it through your bank, where there's an online bill pay where you can set up scheduled payments, or you can do it through whatever. You can do a auto pay on your credit card or on your utility. You can go into their website and set up your scheduled payments. That makes a big difference. I'll be transparent. In residency, the thing that I always had to be reminded to do was to sign my notes on time. Raise your hand if that's also your problem. I can't see you. But I always was reminded, like, you have to sign your notes, And I still have to do my best as an attending to sign my notes on time. It's hard. But one thing that I did, and again, you may not be able to do this, and you definitely won't be able to do this as a medical student. You might not be able to do this as a resident, is I hired a scribe. Big deal. Big deal. I should have done this 10 years ago. I hired a scribe that comes with me to the room and helps to type my note while I'm talking to the patient. The patients love it because I can actually stop, put my computer down, and look them in the face and have a conversation while they're typing. And they also love it because if I'm sending a referral or I'm referring them for an image, et cetera, where that note has to be done that day, I can get the note done much quicker. They don't have to wait for that. So hiring a scribe, or actually you can, there are these online systems and companies that you can do where the scribe is somewhere else.
and you can record and they can transcribe it later. Or I don't know if you guys, what do we used to have at UNC? Was it Dragon? There was another dictation service that we used to use that was very helpful. So that also helped me get my notes done in a more efficient manner. Also, do your notes while you're waiting for the next admission. Chart while you're eating. Do as much as you can at work so that you don't have to take stuff home. That was another thing that I was doing, particularly in my first couple of years in practice, was I was coming home, working all day and seeing the patients, and then coming home and charting for like another 2 hours. And my husband would just be looking at me on the couch with my computer. I try not to do that, because when you get home, you want to have your time. Your family is waiting for you to have some time for them when you get home. And you need that time away. You have to rest your brain. Another piece of advice that my friends gave was stop giving yourself away for free. That can mean a lot, especially if you have a certain talent or certain skill or certain gift that people are, requesting and asking, or even if you have a side gig, a business that you started as a medical student, as a resident. Don't always give yourself away for free. If you have a certain value, a certain price that's on your whatever, if you paint, if you sing, if you dance, if you help people to publish, when you first get started with doing those things, you'll want to give some of that for free. You'll want to volunteer. But after a while, realize that those things have value. Your time and energy and your talent does have value. Okay. While at work, know the roles and the strengths of your support staff. Learn what everyone in the office is responsible for, from the front desk to the back, so that when you need help, you can ask for it. When you're able to delegate, you can do that. We in the office have 2 MDs, 3 PAs, 2 MDs with a part-time MD, semi-retired. So 2.5, and then 2 PAs, and each provider has their own medical assistant. We have about 5 people at the front desk, so like 3 to answer the phone and check in, 1 referral person, 1 medical record person, a nurse manager. Like, we have a pretty good amount of staff. What I try to do is not only, know what that person's role is and know what their responsibilities are on a daily basis, but also know what their strength and their passion is. So for instance, there's 1 front desk person that was doing mostly check-in, check-out, scheduling phone calls, etc. But then we later learned that she liked billing and coding and wants to become a certified biller and coder. So now what we do is we have her help with scrubbing the super bills, meaning once we we're ready for the patient to leave and we've filled out our encounter form or super bill, whatever you guys call it. She then, before we turn it into our management company, who then does the official billing, she will look over the encounter form and make sure that all the bubbles are bubbled in, because she likes to do that. So we've given her that. We've enabled her to do that, and that kind of gives her an extra piece of thing that she's interested in doing. She wants to do it, and it helps us out tremendously. So if you can find that person or find those people in their office that know and love to do certain things, ask them to help you so that you can get your work done more efficiently. Again, as a medical student, as a resident, not sure how much you guys have control over patient phone calls and messages, but I learned, particularly my first couple of years as an attending, that I should only be calling patients when necessary. Because what happens is, so actually now, especially during the pandemic, a lot of insurance companies are covering phone visits, and you can be reimbursed. Again, if you're in an academic center, not sure what the rules and guidelines are there, but Medicare in particular, in general, is covering a phone call as a visit. Reimbursed a little bit less than an actual clinic visit, but we are getting paid some money to do that. Whereas before, we were not. You were not being paid for the hours of phone calls that you were making to the insurance companies and the pharmacies and the billing department to get the MRI prior authorized and calling the family member to explain the lab results because they didn't come to the appointment. Like, we weren't getting reimbursed for any of that. But long story short, if you can call the patient only when necessary, it'll make things a little bit easier, and you'll be reimbursed for your time better, because the thing that I had to learn was, instead of calling the patient back to talk about that complicated MRI result, or telling the patient over the phone that we had to change medicine and all of this, I would either, if it was something easy, have my support staff do that, a trusted staff member, you know, my MA, someone that the patient also knew, or when ordering that thing, go ahead and schedule the follow-up visit. And you guys may already know this and may be pros at this, but I had to learn this. Schedule the follow-up visit 2 weeks later so that we're connecting via telemedicine or phone or in clinic, and we're talking about the results, so that we're not having to play phone tag. I'm not spending an extra 30 minutes on the phone with them and not getting my you know, valued time reimbursed. And there's, you know, things aren't lost in translation. Okay, so that was one thing that I had to learn recently. For my interns and my medical students, don't let others take advantage of you. Don't let others take advantage of you. I know it's hard. You know, there's, in residency, you know, we had this word called pimping, where the older folks, or the upper levels, would essentially haze the lower levels. And so they, you know, put you on the spot during presentations, or you were doing a lot of the scut work, etc. Don't let them take advantage of you. Okay? Don't let them take advantage. Speak up for yourself. Advocate for yourself. If you don't feel like something is fair, have a conversation about it. Talk to a trusted attending that can have your back. One thing that I experienced in residency as a family doc was some of the specialty fellows, or some of the specialty attendings would try to give us, you know, the most complicated patient, or they would make us do a lot of the scut work, even though we were calling them for the consult. And I had to have some of my attendings speak up on our behalf and say, that's not fair. No, we're not doing that. That's your responsibility. So have somebody that you can talk to. If you don't feel that you're being treated fairly because you're the newbie, you need to speak up. Okay. Have a good method of keeping up with results. That's, again, something else that I'm learning how to do. You know, we've experimented with a lot of different things. You know, do I keep an actual handwritten list? Do I send myself a phone message so I remember to check on results? You know, what is the best way to follow up on results? Because often we'll get busy, things will, you know, fall through the cracks. If I didn't have that patient scheduled to follow up, she may be waiting a long time to get her results back. Teach and you know, give your patients the knowledge and the ability to check their own results. If you have access to a patient portal, or if they can sign in and look at their lab results, give them the power to do that. So that saves you some time. So having a method that you use is very helpful. All right, I'm going to fast forward through some of these other ones. You can take a look at some of these other ones. The purpose of this is for you to not feel bogged down so much by the heavy lifting, by the paperwork, by the overwhelming amount of information that you have to receive and put out on a daily basis. I love firing horrible patients, as you know from my earlier story, because it's less stressful. It gets rid of, it's you speaking up for yourself and your staff, and realizing that you deserve to be treated with respect. You know, people, and also, you know, just like in any unhealthy relationship, it's okay to let that person go, to let those people go, to find happiness somewhere else. It's okay to do that. Okay. And having allies everywhere is helpful. Having an upper level, having a nurse manager. Some of my greatest allies in medical school and residency were, you know, one of those nurses on the floor that, you know, had my back, that knew I hadn't eaten, that saved me the last pack of graham crackers and peanut butter, that, you know, that knew I needed to go lay down and take a nap and wouldn't page me for an hour. Like, those are my people. You have to find those people to help support you. Okay. All right. This was the overwhelming, like this received the overwhelming amount of support from the group that I asked about what helped you and what did you hope that you did when you were a medical student and a resident? And that was getting a therapist, an actual mental health professional. Whether or not you feel like you're struggling right now. I mean, clearly with the pandemic, with politics, with the Black Lives Matter movement, with racial injustice. I mean, there is a lot happening. And we, in all of this mess, have to figure out how to put our game face on and help patients through this when we sometimes don't know how to help ourselves. Have someone there to talk you through the steps. Have someone there that you can vent to. And hopefully it's a paid professional friend. Yeah, an unbiased person that can help you through all this. This time is crazy and chaotic, and you deserve to have that person on your side to talk to. I certainly had to reach out to one of my psychiatry colleagues and schedule a session with her and say, how am I going to do this? How am I going to help? Have my kids at home in virtual school? How am I going to help keep them happy and safe? Keep myself from bringing the virus home? Like, how does that work? And I had to have somebody to talk that through with. And I think you deserve to have someone too. Okay. All right. You are not alone. You are not alone. Even if you feel at the end of all this that you want to do something different with your life, don't feel guilty. You have to be happy. You have to be passionate. And you have to have outlets outside of medicine. We've written some books on thinking about quitting medicine for folks that haven't left medicine, but thought about it, but then they found those things, those passionate things that made them feel good, even outside of the office, that kept them mentally and emotionally balanced. Okay. And that's it, my friends. I want to leave some time at the end so we could talk to each other if you guys have any comments or questions. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yes, this is Christian Furman. And I know one of our residents that are rotating is on, and she texted me, but I can't even remember. So is Chanel Benjamin, are you there? Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask you to repeat for me the name of the Facebook group that you mentioned.
Yes, Mocha Medicine.
Mocha. Okay, Mocha Medicine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, if you find me on Facebook, my page is Dr. Weiner on Facebook. If you message me, I can try to point you in the right direction.
Okay, you said it was Dr. what? Sorry.
Doc Weiner, DOC Swiner.
Swiner. Okay, yeah. Swiner. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Attendings, I hope I didn't step on toes too much. I know you're like, how much are you going to tell our residents to make all these changes? Like she.
This is Christian Furman. I think you made a good point. I mean, we're going through a lot. The internal medicine residency is, developing this anti-racism curriculum, and with Breonna Taylor in the case here, just the verdict came out this week that she got 12. The civil settlement went through. And just a lot of tension, and you just feel it, and our office staff feel it, and the faculty and everybody. And it's like, do you talk about it? Do you not talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to stir up a lot of stuff that needs to be discussed. So at the Traeger Institute, we actually have set aside times twice a month to talk about it, because, we all realize we need to talk about it, but not just here and there. It needs to be like a controlled kind of, let's officially talk about it, So yes. I don't know what your thought is about at work, how to have these conversations.
Yeah, so I think that's great that you guys have recognized how important it is to even have the space to do that. And I think that's all you can do, just create a safe space for people to come in and not feel judged, to share. So what we did in our office is we just had a staff meeting. I think it was after, this was right after George Floyd's killing. We have a very diverse staff, but we opened up the floor during a lunch and said, how's everybody doing? Is literally how we posed the question. And it was great because we had tears, we had you know, we talked about fear, we talked about anger, we talked about biases. And so what we want to do is just create that frequently. So for instance, my partner, Dr. Chillicurry, said that next time we meet, he wants to do a poetry reading of Black authors and just talk about that. So, you know, I think just opening the door, opening the window to have a safe space just to talk about whatever people want to talk about in terms of that is very helpful.
That's great. Those are great ideas. Those are great prompts too. Yeah, it's always like, how do you start a conversation? So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm also glad you brought up the pandemic. My daughter's a resident assistant in college, and it's so stressful because she's like a front.
I can't believe I'm just now leaving. It's so stupid.
Uh-oh.
So I've not been asking my patients about how they're dealing with it. And somebody said, you know, we really need to just ask all of our patients how they're dealing with the pandemic. But it's like, do you want to open that can of worms? But yeah, right. I think we need to, like, it's mental health, you know, and that's part of it.
You have to, because clearly we're going to be dealing with this for a while. And then after this is over, we're going to be dealing with PTSD from this. So it, you know, having open conversations definitely, I think, is needed. I ask my patients, even when they come in now, just for whatever, I start off the conversation with, how have you been coping with this pandemic and everything else going on in the world? That's how I open up the visit now. And some folks have said, well, that's kind of crazy because they're not coming to you for that. Well, clearly that has to do with every other part of their health. So yes, I'm going to ask, like, how are you dealing with this stuff?
That's great. Yeah, that's good. Good advice.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any last questions for Dr. Swiner? Okay. Well, if not, thank you, Dr. Swiner. We appreciate your time. I'm the program director for the residency, so you didn't step on my toes with anything you said.
I don't want to get in trouble.
You know, certainly you highlighted a lot of things that have taken me longer than I wish it had to learn. Right. And so I'm hoping that our students and our residents will learn those lessons earlier than it took me to. So especially getting a therapist.
Yes, absolutely. We all need them right now.
Yes. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. You guys reach out to me, email or social media. Please reach out.
Thank you.
It was very helpful.
Bye.